Till now, we were speaking about a place that was enclosed for human living. So we said that the definition of a reshus hayochid, of a private domain where you can carry, is a place that it's at least 4 by 4 tefachim, right? This is the measurement of a tefach. So it's 4 by 4, and it has mechitzas, has some type of fence, 10 tefachim high or 10 tefachim deep, or it's underground, 10 tefachim, any of these, and you can carry in that area. But we said that's provided that it was enclosed by these mechitzas for living purposes. So number 3 is Mokim Shemukov Shaloi L'Shem Dira. The area was enclosed not for living purposes. Well, ain't a golden basis sign, but it's not bigger than 750 square feet. We worked that big. Then you're allowed to carry in that area that's smaller than that size. All right, so let's say, for example, it was enclosed for a vegetable garden. So we say if it's too large an area, then the fencing doesn't help because it's not made for day-to-day living. But if it's smaller, then we actually worked it out. It was 750 square amas, which came to about 500 square feet. And if you have a courtyard that is attached, you can also carry from the courtyard to this area. And from the courtyard to the area. Now, these things that you can carry are only things that were in the courtyard or this vegetable garden or whatever happens to be before Shabbos. Because it's all considered one area. The courtyard and the garden, the vegetable garden, it's all one area. So let's make it a little more practical. So we did mention this last time, that you have your house has a yard that you fenced in, and then part of your property next to your fenced in yard is, I think last week we gave the example of a broccoli field. You're planting broccoli. All right, everyone's favorite vegetable. Just ask the kids. So if you have something that was in the yard or the broccoli field, you can carry those backwards and forwards. However, this broccoli field is not one area together with the house. The yard is, but the field isn't. So therefore, if you had something in the broccoli field when Shabbos began, a box. Although you can carry this box into your yard, but you can't carry it from the yard into the house. And if you had things in your house, let's say a cushion that you wanted to sit on outside, although you can carry that cushion to the yard from your house, that's an extension of your house, but aslach nisam l'sham, you can't carry it to that vegetable garden that's through a gate out of the yard. Right, it's a separate area. All right, any questions on that?
Yeah, it starts the same as number 3, but then it changes and it says they changed it to a dwelling.
Right, so that was number 3 that I just said. You asked me to start 3 again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you're still on 3. Oh, okay.
Yes, so now I just finished 3. We're going to go to number 4.
All right.
Right, Malcolm Shahukov Shaloi L'Shem Dira. You got an area, it was closed in, not for human habitation. Right, so you had a lot and you fenced it in and you were keeping tractors there. Right, just to be a storage for tractors that you rent out. It's not for people to live. So it's all, you fenced it with the intention to, so people don't graffiti or steal your tractors. So it was fenced in, but not for living purposes. It was fenced in for protection of what's inside, of the objects that are inside, or to keep people out, essentially. This means that first you put up the fences for another purpose, and now you want to build a house in there, and you want to have a fenced-in area for living purpose so you can carry. Or you buy the adjoining house, and the house goes right to the edge of the property, and you want to, either from the house or from your yard, you want to open up to this next lot, so it becomes one big property. And you want to be the carry in there on Shabbos. Now, the problem is, this area was fenced not for people to live, and obviously it's too big, larger than the 500 square amos, otherwise it wouldn't be a problem, or even if it was smaller, but you want to be the carry from your house. So how can you fix, how do you remedy the situation? So now it's considered closed in for living. How do you do that? So it is like this. The solution is as follows. If demolish a part of the fence at 10 amma, and amma again is it's about 1.5 feet. So from the elbow to the middle finger fingertip, demolish 10 ammas wide piece of fence. Because if you recall, we learned in a previous chapter that when you have an opening in the fence, it nullifies the entire fencing. It's too big a breach. It's not fenced anymore. So you don't have to take down all the fencing. You just make it breached. You breach it with a 10 amma wide breach. So now it's not considered enclosed anymore. And then after the brackets, and therefore the fencing is considered nullified. Halachically, it's not closed in anymore. And then you just fill in that breach again, right? You put those, the same fencing, you fix it, or you put new fencing, put a gate, the nakshav, mukaf ladira, and now it's considered that you enclose the entire area for living purposes. Right? So just to summarize, you have an area that was enclosed, but not for living purposes. You want to make it an area enclosed for living purposes. So you take down, you breach the fence, 10 ammas wide, and then about 12.5 feet. Then you can, 15 feet should say. Then it's considered not closed anymore. It's a non-closed area. It's too large a breach. And then you put the fence back up, or you put a new piece of fence with the intention to close it for living purposes. Okay, any questions on that one? No? All right. Number 5. Now, if you recall, we mentioned that if you have an area enclosed for living purposes, there's no size limit. As long as it's enclosed for living purposes, there's no maximum size. We only had a maximum size when you enclosed it for other reasons, be a garden, something else. So, someone has their 50-acre property and they fence all around it to be their home, then there's no problem. However, on their property, they might do something or modify the property that can make a problem. So that's what we're going to discuss here. This courtyard, this yard, although chotzer means courtyard, but it essentially means your fenced-in property. So the 50-acre property is the same thing. It's larger than the basis sign, larger than this 500 square feet. The nota bar ilonis, and you plant trees. Plant trees there. Filo baruba, sorry. Even if you planted trees in the majority of the property. We did not take away this area's status as a living area. So even though now there's trees, why? But it's still considered like it was enclosed, closed for living purposes. There's time for because people like to plant trees and sit in the shade, or they like to take a stroll through the shaded area. So a person can plant a whole bunch of trees, even semi-forest, on their property, and if they can walk around and enjoy the area, there's no problem. So that's if it's trees, because people can still walk between the trees, and it's a normal thing for people to enjoy the shade of trees. But if you planted seeds, but here we mean like vegetables, you put a vegetable patch. So you don't normally walk on vegetables, right? Under the trees, you walk. Between the trees, you walk. On the vegetables, you don't walk. So now that you've got all these vegetable, you essentially, this property the person has, and they've plowed it, and they've planted acres of broccoli. Might as well keep using broccoli as the example. Why not? Now, if this is now the majority of the property, majority of the closed-in area, then he has a problem. Then this Batla Bezadira is now lost the status of a living property, of closed-in for living. It's now considered a field, a vegetable garden. It's no longer considered a living area. But if what he planted is the minority of his property, of his fenced-in area, then as long as what he closed, what he's planted, that planted area is less than the base sign. I'm sorry, I told you the wrong way before. It's actually 500 amas, which is 750 square feet. 500 square amas, 750 square feet. That's smaller than that. Then then we say the vegetable patch is insignificant. It doesn't have any status, and it's considered it's just part of the yard. But if it's larger than the base sign, it's more than 750 square feet, at least in one spot, then that place of the vegetable patch is a carmelis. The same thing if you have a lake or a dam, someone has a large property, or sometimes, in the summer camps, the same idea when we want to make an eruv around the camp area. So the water is the same thing if it's this size. The sharm in a chotza, harihu poritz k'molim v'asim. Then what happens is, even though the whole property is fenced, but because now you have this large planted out area of vegetable garden or the lake, or whatever it happens to be, that's considered a breach. So that's now open. So you have to put a new fence there. And if you don't have a fence, you can no longer carry. And you can only carry in the entire property, or at least anything that's not fenced in on its own, 4 amas, 6 feet. Right?
Yeah,
So,
isn't the se'ah 50 feet and 50 amot and 50 amot? 2 se'ot is 50 and 100.
but it's square. It's square. It's not length. So you got
50 amot square.
So it becomes 50 square, and that's 250. So that's 50 by 50 makes 250 square.
2,500 square.
2,500. That's correct. That's what I was getting.
Oh, sorry. Correct. 2,500 square. Right. And then we've got 2 of them. So it's 5,000 square amas.
Right.
So 7,500 square feet. My apologies. Right, only took the sixth time to get it right.
No, yeah, 5,000.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Lucky I'm not the math teacher at my school. I teach
I
the
look
Chumash.
Oh, yeah, I look at numbers.
That's good. All right, thank you for that correction.
Okay.
Okay. Number 6. Likewise, if you have a courtyard and the whole courtyard is less than this base of sign, I'm going to get it right this time, 7,500 square feet. It's that size or less. There's not a mixasa, and you planted out some of it, portion of it, as a excuse me, as vegetable garden. So we're going to judge this fenced-in area by its majority. If the majority is planted out as a vegetable garden, then even though you can still carry there, because it's smaller than the maximum area of a non-living area. Nevertheless, if you had something that was in the house when Shabbos began, also to the sham, you can't carry it into the garden. So something was in the garden, you can carry in the garden, but you can't take something from the garden to the house or from the house to the garden. And obviously, although it doesn't say it, if the minority is planted out, then the garden area becomes doesn't have any significance. It becomes nullified to the yard as a whole. And therefore, you need to make a mechitza to block off, some type of fence to block off the garden, in order to be able to carry from the house to the rest of the property, to the yard. Okay, that is the end of the chapter.
Okay.
Everyone feel they should get an architecture degree after this? No. One of the most famous architects of building Jerusalem outside the old city.
Where are you going?
Was a fellow named Nissen Beck, and he designed some of the neighborhoods, and I think it was the British in the Mandate period. They were really impressed. They said, which architecture school did you go to? And he confessed that he didn't. He only studied the tractate of Eruvin in the Talmud. That's where he learned his architecture from. So there you go. Chapter 84. It's going to be far more practical on a day-to-day basis. Little more like chapter 80 was. Okay. This is carrying things outside. And again, we're speaking in a place where there's no Erev, because there's an Erev, then the whole area is closed in one house, one property. But where there's no Erev, the halachas of taking something out, if you're wearing it, or we're going to loosely translate tachshit as a jewelry or an ornament of some sort. Right? It's we're going to define what fits in the category and what doesn't. So, generally speaking, if you're wearing something, that's no problem. Sitzes, for an example, those who wear sitzes, so the strings hang off the garment. So although you're wearing the garment, the strings hang off. So technically that's carrying. But this is a case of a positive mitzvah overruling the negative mitzvah. So we're allowed to wear sitzes anyway. Just as a side point to this, a non-Jew is not allowed to keep Shabbos. So let's say someone wants to convert and they're practicing, right? They're practicing keeping all the mitzvahs and they're practicing keeping Shabbos. So since a non-Jew is not allowed to keep Shabbos, this person's practicing has to break Shabbos at least once every Shabbos. So they didn't keep Shabbos. So places where there's not an Erev, if it's a man, he wears tzitzis, because since he's not commanded to wear them, then the string hanging off is like carrying. Right? Or a lady or a place with this Erev, they flick a light on and off, whatever it is, they do something. So there was this non-Jewish man who wanted to convert, and he's speaking to the rabbi. He tells the rabbi he started keeping Shabbos to practice. So the rabbi says, so what are you doing to break Shabbos? He says, well, I'm wearing tzitzis. The rabbi says to him, but we have an Erev in the city. So he says, I don't hold of that Erev. That was all right, small attempt at humor. Anyway, here we go. So what's considered wearing and not considered wearing?
I did find it funny.
That's good. At least someone did. Thank you. Thank you.
I did also.
Thank you. All right. Aleph, number 1. Any object, it's not a clothing. It's not a tachshit. An ornament, let's say. Also, let's say spoiler shusarabim or lekamlis. You're not allowed to carry it out into a shusarabim or the karmelis, which is almost a shusarabim. It's rabbinically shusarabim. So we'll keep it simple. Cup. It's from last night. It's okay. I didn't have a drink yet. So you have this cup. This cup is not a item of clothing, even if I wear it on my head. It's not considered an ornament. If I have it hanging in my pocket, no one gets really excited because I've got a fancy plastic cup on. Right? It's none of these things. So carrying it outside, that is a problem of transferring from a Shus Yochid to a Shus Rabim, from private domain to public domain, or vice versa. It's also a problem. You can't carry 4 amas, approximately 6 feet, in the Shus Rabim, in the public domain.
I don't want to be funny, but
Yeah.
is a mask considered clothing?
It's going to depend where and who and how. Right? I'll tell you what I mean, because we are going to say that one of the things that are problematic is that if it's something that you take off. So without preempting what we're going to learn soon,
Yeah.
but let's say there's something. So we're going to mention, for example, to speak about glasses.
Yeah.
So we're going to discuss a difference. See, I wear glasses all the time. Almost all the time. Don't wear them to sleep and various things.
Yeah.
So I'm allowed to wear glasses outside with no Erev. It's wearing. Let's say reading glasses. Now, reading glasses, if you walk in the street, most likely you're going to take them off. Right. And then, so therefore you're not allowed to wear it out because we're worried the person is going to carry on Shabbos.
Yeah.
So if it's a place and environment where people are wearing masks all the time and don't or aren't allowed to take them off, with different places have had different rules, and same places had different rules at different times. So then it's we're not going to have this concern. But if it's a place where people are taking the mask on and off, then it becomes problematic.
Okay.
Unless, of course, you're in Arizona and there's no masks. Right?
In Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed to wear a mask here.
Well, here you're allowed. You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're not allowed to, but So, since you can only go out with something that's a clothing or an ornament, also the says machat hatchuva the big day. You can't go out with a needle stuck in your clothes because people used to carry their needles, like in their collar and things. They put a bunch of 5, 6 needles.
Tailors.
tailors would
That's
walk
right.
around with needles in their vests.
That's right. These kinds of things. You can't do that. Now, v'afilu b'machat she'ein bo nekev. That even if it's a needle, we're now going to call it a pin because of the description, that doesn't have a hole, doesn't have an eye. V'afilu tzarech levisha, and you need it for your clothing. So now we're talking about a pin. You know, let's say the shirt doesn't do it properly, so you put a pin, a safety pin. Well, safety pin's a little bit different because it closes properly. You put a regular pin to hold the sleeve close, let's say. And a man has to be very strict about this, and not to wear, even if it's the pin is he's wearing it, it's holding his clothes together. But a lady, since it's the norm, or at least it was in those days, that different things they wore were closed with pins. Right? People didn't have zippers and things that we have today. So people used to use pins. Simple, they're like ribbons and like or they had different handkerchiefs for their hair, various things. They closed it with a pin. Then they're allowed to wear it because they're wearing it's clothes. They're wearing clothes. Now this is specifically a pin or needle without an eye. But they can't use one with an eye. That's considered a tool of sewing, and therefore it's muksa. Okay,
Rabbi,
yes.
what about like a pin, like a Mashiach flag pin or a U.S. flag pin, just to make it neutral? Like that kind of a pin. I would think that would be carrying also, because you sort of pinned it on, and you can pin it off when it goes into the wash.
You can't. So it's the next one we're going to talk about things more for ornamental purposes. Okay, so again, that's excellent question, and this is where we are. Base. So we're going to loosely call ornaments, but this kind of thing is a jewelry, anything that you're wearing, not for, when you wear a jacket, even though you might wear a nice jacket, it should be decorative, it should be nice for Shabbos, but you're primarily wearing a jacket because you need a jacket. But then there's certain things that you don't need them for your clothing, but you wear it to adorn yourself, to look a little more fancy. So yesh gam kein devarim she'asura b'seinu zichron l'bracha. It says pem Shabbos Chapter. There are certain ornaments that our sages forbade. They said that a person is not allowed to wear out in the public domain on Shabbos. Yesh tachshitim she'asur l'noshim, and then there are certain things that are only forbidden to men. Yesh tachshitim she'asur l'noshim, and the certain things are only forbidden for women. And obviously, then there's things you're allowed to wear in general. So, what are the examples? We're talking about things that you might take off to show people. Huh? To show. So let's say, for an example, I don't know, let's say there's a type of jewelry that it's the norm. A lot of people wear it, but it's the norm to sort of take it off and pass it around and show people, wow, look at this new one I got, and they all have a look at it. Here we have a concern that someone's going to carry for Amos and Shabbos. You can't wear that piece. Right? But if it's something that one never takes off, so let's say, I don't know, an earring. I don't think many people in the street take off their earrings to start showing other people. Then it's not a problem. So this is the underpinning issue. Is it the type of thing you would take off to show someone else? Now he says, it says nowadays it's sort of spread the custom to be lenient about this. But and our halachic authorities explain the reason for this. He doesn't say what the reason is, but the reason, just to let you know for yourself, is because we don't really have many real Rosh Hashanah today. Most of our roads and streets are a Carmelis. Because as we said, one of the things you need to be a real Rosh Hashanah is has to have 600,000 people per day. So unless it's one of these like Broadway in Manhattan, these large roads, or in Brooklyn you have the parkways, the Eastern Parkway, right? Yeah, you have these massively long, wide roads where you have a tremendous amount of traffic. Unless it's a place like that, generally speaking, you don't have streets. Most suburban places where people live, the streets you're walking in are not a real Rosh Hashanah. They're a Carmelis, which means it's similar to Rosh Hashanah, but missing some of the requirements. So therefore, it's rabbinically forbidden to carry there because it's similar enough to Rosh Hashanah. We're worried that people will make a mistake. If they see him carry in this street, I can carry in another street. They won't realize that it's a problem. So it's rabbinically forbidden. But once we've got now two rabbinic issues, we don't normally do two. So to then say, well, I'm not going to wear it because maybe I'm going to carry it off and take it off and carry it in a place that's only rabbinically you can't carry it, we're not going to make two rabbinical rules. We only make one to protect something. We don't make a rule, we don't make a rabbinic rule to protect a rabbinic rule. So we don't make, making it a double. We only ever make a rabbinic rule to protect a Torah rule. Right, so we'll put one layer of fencing to protect the Torah rule, not two. So to give an example in a different area, let's say, what would be a good example? Let's say a person, we say you can't ask a non-Jew to do something for you on Shabbos. Now that's a rabbinic rule. Technically, as long as you don't do it, there's no problem according to the Torah. But the sages said because it's going to ruin Shabbos, it'll take away the spirit, the atmosphere of Shabbos. If you have this non-Jew following around behind you all day doing everything for you, so therefore we have a rule that you can't ask a non-Jew to do something on Shabbos. What can you ask him to do? Something that you can't do. So let's say something you can do. So let's say rinsing dishes in cold water. You're allowed to do that. So you can ask outright the non-Jew to do that. The sages do not make a second rule and say, no, you can't even ask for that because maybe you'll ask about something else. Because we're not concerned about putting a fence to protect the concept of asking a non-Jew to do something, because that's only rabbinic in of itself. So we'll make a rule to stop someone from doing something to protect the Torah law, but we're not going to make a rule to protect the rabbinic law. Did I confuse everyone, or that was crystal clear or clear as mud? All right. So since most roads today are a Carmelis, so we're not going to say that a person can't wear something that might show. However, we say here, the Yiras Shamayim yeshel hachron atzmoi. Someone who really wants to do the right thing should be strict on themselves. But and you have to be particularly careful about the following things. Now, these things are the type of issue that I think are more applicable in the time, but will apply the principle. A man should not wear on Shabbos a ring that doesn't have a protrusion. They used to wear these rings, to be a seal. That there was like a protrusion on it, some type of design. and you put it into hot wax, and that sealed your letter. That was your signature, your personal seal.
It was called a signet ring.
Yes, a signet ring.
SIGNET.
Yeah, so we have a signet ring. So a man should not go out on Shabbos with a ring that's not a signet ring, right? Because that ring could get taken off. The signet ring a person keeps on their finger because it's their special identity. It's not something that you take off and show people and pass around. But other rings, men don't generally, often don't wear rings. They could take it off. So that was the norm in that time. Today, we apply the principle. What's the norm in our time? Mikol Shekain, he used to explain cliches. For sure, he shouldn't wear a watch. Now, the watch is talking about here is, they didn't have watches like they have today. They wore pocket watches. The filo kosher meravidazov shnois al savari will touch it. Even if he's got a golden chain connected to his neck, so he's wearing it so it's like a necklace, a golden necklace with a nice watch that's part of the necklace, not just hanging, but the piece is part of it. So it's an ornament. But this is the type of thing that a person could take off. You take it off to have a better look at it, or you take it off to show someone the time. That was the norm, people to show it off. So that becomes problematic, and therefore we're concerned they might carry it in the street. Of a cliche, kiss, but the type of pocket watch that you just put in your pocket, it's not held on by a chain. This is regular carrying, and there's no leniency. Okay, so the general principle we said here is that if it's a type of ornament that you wear that you don't take off normally in the street to show people, then there's no problem. If it's something that it's the norm for people to take off and show people, then it becomes a problem. So the question you had about the pins, I think generally people leave them on the whole time. They perhaps take it off when they launder the clothes, or they take it off when they go to bed or something. But when they walk in the street, they leave it on. So it's not really an issue for this. Okay. Number 3, Gimel.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of also house keys that people make into pins.
Oh.
You see it by ladies, but I don't know if I've seen that by men.
You are thinking along the lines of the Sefer now. This is when
Bike
you know,
flips.
because this is the next chapter, the next point. When you start thinking of the next question in something, or the next thing it raises, you have become part of it. So keys, number 3, maftach shel kesef, even a key of silver. Even though it works, right? It's a key, it's a working key, but it's made of silver. So since it's also a decoration, it's an adornment. We have the custom to go out with it on Shabbos. Again, not carrying it in a hand or pocket, but some type of attached to our clothes with, some type of ornament. And the reason that generally men do that, get to 1 second, the reason why generally men don't do that, I should say, is because men today don't really wear jewelry so much. For ladies, wear a brooch. It's not uncommon. But for men, it's not so common. So that's why it's generally ladies sort of wear a key like that. Sometimes, into a brooch, they wear it and the little design, maybe 2 keys. And by men, we don't do that. Okay, you heard the other question.
Yeah. This was over 30 years ago, but when I was living in Providence, when I first moved there wasn't an Erev. So they had what was called a Shabbos belt, where you put the key, You're familiar with that?
Yes. So that's a regular belt, and the key is part of the belt. It's
Right.
not hanging from the belt, it's part of the belt. So you know Rabbi Smith's family from Providence?
Yeah, I knew Rabbi Smith when he was up there.
So, you know, Rabbi Smith's my brother-in-law. His
Really?
yeah, his sister Eliza, that's my wife.
Oh, nice.
So what's your last name? I'll be the-
Guberman.
Sorry?
Guberman. Guberman.
All right. I'll mention your name to her. You know, for those who aren't familiar, the From Providence community was a tight-knit, you know, they were like a clan.
I'm familiar with the Laufers of Providence, Rhode Island. Are they
Okay.
still there?
They're still there. And
So there's more than one Chabad?
he has sons there also that
Yes, Yossi is in
You,
Cranston,
uh,
Warwick or Cranston, I forget.
yeah.
So
I learned in yeshiva with him,
Oh, with whom?
with Yossi.
With Yossi. Oh, okay. His daughter was at a time real friendly with our granddaughter. I think they've drifted separately though since they stopped going to school. But my question is there more than one Chabad house in Providence then? Laufer is not the only one?
So the other ones, I'm not sure if they're actually in Providence or the surrounding towns, but they have more than one they've 2 or 3 in Rhode Island now.
I mean, your relative was whom?
Smith.
Oh, Robert Smith, of course. He's not in Providence anymore though.
No. They moved pretty close to 30 years ago, I would say. You know.
Okay, so my question was, I guess he was there while Rabbi Laufer was there, and Rabbi Laufer
Yes.
is still there.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
They used to daven there, amongst other places. Yep. Okay. So things that can be an ornament, that's fine. Avobate anayim, glasses. Even if they're covered in silver, to be the fanciest Liberace glasses you can imagine. Also, the says behem, you're not allowed to go out in the street with them. You can't wear them on Shabbos. So we're going to discuss glasses because although he says here you can't carry them, there are different types of glasses. Right. So there's different types of glasses. So when someone asked a question before, I gave a brief introduction. We said glasses, let's say like I'm wearing now, that I wear them all the time. I don't take them on and off. I wear them all the time. So I can wear those type of glasses on Shabbos, where there's not Erev. Again, like we said, where there's an Erev, you can wear what you like and carry what you like. But well, as long as it's not muksa. Okay, but it's but when there's not an Erev, so it depends what type of glasses they are. So if you can see, you can't see clearly without glasses. So your regular, the glasses that you wear all the time, you can't see clearly without them. You can wear them because you're not really going to take them off. If you have reading glasses, right, you only use them for reading, then walking out the street, you're for sure going to take them off because now you can't see clearly in the reading glasses. And then you're going to come to carry. So that's a problem. If someone has glasses just for ornamental, right? One of my nieces, for a period of time, wore glasses without any prescription because they thought they made her look intelligent. Right? So not one of the Smith nieces, on the other side. But anyway, the ornamental glasses, you can't wear out on Shabbos without an Erev because, again, we're concerned the person is going to take them off. Sunglasses. So sunglasses is also a concern that you can take off. So without an Erev, a person really shouldn't walk wearing sunglasses. Now this includes the sunglasses that you clip to your regular glasses. All right, so when a place without an Erev, you can't wear those. Bifocals are fine, because even though it's reading glasses, you know, the other part of it is not. So you keep them on. Contacts. Right, so contact lenses. So now it depends. Someone who's used to using them, so they've been using for a period of time and they're used to it and it's not uncomfortable, then they can wear them just like regular glasses. But if they're not used to it yet, you know, they still feel uncomfortable, then we're concerned they're going to take them out on Shabbos, and they'll come to carry them for Amos in the Rosh Hashanah.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I'm thinking of those glasses that become dark when you're outside and become light when you're inside. So I would think it's Mars iron to wear those kind of glasses, because people would see outside and think you're wearing sunglasses.
It's an excellent point, but again, the reason that won't be a problem, if they're glasses that you need to see regularly, so the ones that you could wear, it's not issue, because again, that's now a protection on a protection. Right? We said we never make the double rule. So we're not going to say a Morris iron on something that's only a rabbinical. Right? Because we're only going to do, we only do one layer protection, not on a Torah law. We don't do a protection on something that's only a protection of the Torah law. So technically, you could wear sunglasses according to the Torah. Why do we rabbinically say you can't? Because it falls into the category of things that is anything that person commonly takes off, they can't wear outside because they may take it off and then carry it. So since sunglasses is the type of thing that comes on, off, in your pocket, in your hand, you know, various things, those sunglasses fall into that category. So it's only rabbinically that you can't wear them out without an Erev, and we're not going to do a Maras Ayin to protect the rabbinic.
And the Verilux are all for prescription glasses. People buy those when you need to wear the glasses constantly.
Yeah, but he's just saying that if you're walking down and they were tinted.
I don't care, Maris. It looks like a regular pair of glasses, and it is a regular pair.
Yeah, no, he had a good point. He had a good point that if sunglasses were forbidden from the Torah, which they're not, but if they were, then yes, it would be a case of Morasai. Because even though they're not regular sunglasses, they look like it. So that would be an issue. But since here sunglasses are only forbidden because it falls into the rabbinic category or something you normally take on and off, so we're not going to say a Maras Ayin to protect the rabbinic. Right? We only go one step for protection, not two.
Rabbi, I'm not trying to make trouble.
No, not at all. This is how we understand.
Yeah. So I'm
relieved we finished architecture and got something more practical, and we're getting all these questions and discussion again. I was getting sick of hearing my own voice all the time.
So I'm thinking of a person, he's not touching something because it's muksa, which is from the Rabbanan.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if he does touch this thing that's muksa, and people know it's muksa, it'll be a Maras Ayin, because people will be thinking, hey, this guy's touching muksa. So isn't that sort of an example of a double?
So again, we're not going to say a Maras Ayin or muksa, because muksa is only a protection. Having said that, though, it's good to avoid doing things that don't look right for the same reasons of Maras Ayin. So even though it won't be a Maras Ayin prohibition, but the two reasons behind Maras Ayin, one, that people will think that it's okay because they see a frum person doing it. Oh, so that must be okay. Or two, they say, oh, what a hypocrite. That's what the people frum do. Well, I'm not interested. Then, you know, if you try and avoid those things. But in of itself, we're not going to say it's a prohibition on Maras Ayin if it's only a rabbinic issue.
I get it. Thank you.
Now, although we said sunglasses are an issue, if they're dark glasses worn for medical reasons, Right? Some people have, you see sometimes people that albino, and their eyes need protection, and they wear these dark glasses even inside. So then they can wear it, and we're not concerned. We're not concerned about them wearing that. So now that we've got this principle, we're going to mention a few other things. Right? So we're back into the territory of chapter 80, where we learned something and we got to apply it to a whole array of ideas. Prosthetic limbs. They're going to be the same concept. So a false limb, a person is allowed to wear them on Shabbos.
I'm sorry, Rabbi, we didn't cover hat. I see that hat is allowed and you take it off.
Yeah. But you don't normally take it off in the street.
Oh, not in the street, but in the shul you take off the hat.
Yeah, but then but the issue is only taking it off in the street.
I see. Okay.
Because then it can be a problem. Right, so false limbs are not a problem. Again, that's not something that people normally, people don't normally take off their false leg and show it to people, and when people try and be as often people are, they feel a little self-conscious about it, so they're trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. So that's not an issue. Hearing aids. Now, hearing aids again is the same issue. So here it's going to depend a little bit on the person. So if someone's wearing hearing aids full time, and they don't take them off, and particularly they have one today. Again, they're trying to make them that so it's as least noticeable as possible. Right? They have little small ones and different things. So if it's the type that stays on properly and is not normally taken off, then there's no problem to wear it. But if a person, I don't know, maybe they just got them and they're a little uncomfortable, or maybe they're borderline whether they need them and therefore it goes on and off. So then we're going to have the same issue on Shabbos. They'll be like the sunglasses, but we're going to have a concern that they may wear them out and then take them off. Okay.
False teeth?
False teeth.
New ones, the ones that you check because they don't fit yet.
You don't take him off in the street.
That is a really good question, because they're not. I would say in today's streets that are Carmelists, I didn't look up false teeth, so we'll try and check it out for next week. But off the top of my head, I would say in a Carmelist is going to be a problem, because carrying in your mouth is an unusual method of carrying. So it's only rabbinically prohibited to start with, and even if it was an issue, and here it's a Carmelist. In a real Rosh Hashanah, someone had to walk in a real place. Maybe they have to have another. So I'll actually take that back till I look it up for next week, God willing. Excellent question.
Also, but I'm talking about a new pair that hurt when you put them in. So the question is whether you can take them out literally of your mouth. You're not keeping them in your mouth because they hurt in your mouth.
So well, if they're the ones that if they're in a situation where they're going in and out, then it's for sure going to be problematic. If they just stay in the whole time, then let me double check that. Ezra.
I don't know if you spoke about clip-ons for dark glasses instead of actually having a pair of sunglasses. I suppose you put on a pair of clip-ons on the house and wear them all the way to shul.
So I mentioned that. So that's a problem where there's no Eruv.
If there is an Eruv, it's okay.
Yeah, if there's an Eruv, then you can sunglasses in general are okay. because if you take it off and carry, there's no problem. The concerns of this chapter are all things that we're concerned about.
Carrying.
Someone's going to come to carry. Okay. Some people have orthopedic supports in their shoes. Okay. Now, if they're in the shoe, it's not a problem. In a proper shoe, enclosed shoes, not a sandal. Right? They're in a closed shoe. It's not a problem because they stay in, and it's part of the wearing. It's part of, even though it's not attached to the shoe, but it's for these purposes considered like the shoe. In a sandal, it has to be built in or attached somehow, because we're concerned it's going to slide out, and then a person's not going to go to the trouble of putting it back in. They're just going to put it in their pocket and carry on Shabbos. Again, we're speaking about where there's not an Erev. So when we say you can have it in the shoe, inserts that to keep the feet warm is considered wearing. If it's to make better fit, is okay. Or to absorb perspiration. So all of those things are okay. Okay. That is a dressing on a wound. It has the halachic category of a tachshit, of adornment. Right? That's not that you wear it to be fancy, but that's considered. So that's not a problem. You can even wrap a handkerchief around the wound as protection, and it's not a problem. You can secure a dressing with something that doesn't have any intrinsic value, and you throw it away. Let's say a piece of thread or something. So even though you've secured it with that, and that's not an ornament, you're not actually wearing the thread, but since it's for the dressing, that's okay.
As long as it's not a double knot.
Yes, correct. And as long as it's for the dressing, has to wrap something around the dressing because you want to transport it, you're not allowed to do that. Someone wanted this hand towel, take it to someone else's house. So they wrap it around the dressing just officially, oh, I'm securing it. It doesn't work that way. It's like the guy says, for the right price, I'll self-defense anybody. Right? Self-defense has to legitimately be self-defense. So likewise, the dressing has to legitimately be dressing. Now, the dressing then is if it's for protection for the wound. If the dressing is not for the wound, it's solely there to protect the clothes from getting stained. Rather than to heal the wound, then you can't wear it out without an Erev. So often when you put on a dressing, it's to help the wound, and you get a side benefit, it protects the clothing. So there's no problem. But if you're wearing it solely to protect the clothing, then that's not, in other words, it's not adornment for the person. It's not something for the person's sake. You've got this thing on for a piece of clothing's sake, which that would be considered carrying on Shabbos. It has to be firmly attached. And yeah, okay, that is a sling. You're allowed to wear a sling to support a painful arm. A person can also have like cotton wool in their ear. If they have an ear infection and they need it. Ladies are allowed to wear sanitary napkins and various things. Again, it's considered dormant because it's preventing discomfort. A person can wear a rupture belt, some surgical belt, all these types of things. Okay, so that is number 3. Any questions on that before we finish up? Well, clear. So it's good to hear that everyone had a wonderful Rosh Hashanah. So next Thursday is Yom Kippur. So I guess we're not on. Unless you happen to be in Phoenix for Yom Kippur, and we can learn at the break. So,
Rabbi, you want to give us a 1-minute halachic takeaway in preparation?
for Yom Kippur?
Okay, yes.
Okay, well, we'll just briefly mention, of course, there's the 5 things that we can't do on Yom Kippur. We don't eat, which includes drinking. Again, people have health issues, speak to your rabbi. Yom Kippur is the strictest. Today's fast, even for minor health issues, people don't need to fast. Yom Kippur, I won't say you basically have to be dying, but pretty close. God forbid, we should never know from such things. But if there's issues, please speak to whoever you ask your questions to. We don't eat or drink. We don't put on ointments for pleasure. So if it's for medicinal purposes, you can. But that wouldn't, putting on for pleasure would include anything's optional. It's like a roll-on deodorant. You can use a spray deodorant, but not like the roll-on. So we don't wear leather shoes. You can wear leather, anything else. We don't wear proper shoes. We don't have marital relations, and we don't wash. Again, we'll loosely say for pleasure. Means if you have dirt on you, mud splashed on you, you're allowed to wash the mud off. After you go to the bathroom, you're allowed to wash your hands. This is not washing for pleasure. No, it's washing because there's a need to wash. But any other washing, you feel a little bit hot, you want to put some water on your face. These kinds of things we can't do. We generally only wash our negovasa. We wash our hands in the morning only to the knuckles in Yom Kippur. But if you're someone that touches food, whether you're feeding children, grandchildren, or other people need to be fed, or you're just preparing food for after, then you need to wash the whole hand before you touch the food. The main thing of Yom Kippur is just connecting to Hashem. It's relationship building. It's all about developing a relationship. And particularly Yom Kippur, it's about repairing our relationship. Every one of us has different relationships in life, friends, parents, siblings, children, spouse. And there's times where whatever relationship we've been in, there's been a bit of stress on it. And if we value that relationship, we put extra effort to bring it back, to repair it. And Yom Kippur is a time where we repair a relationship with our Creator. So we wish you an easy fast, but even more importantly, we wish you tremendous success in the developing the most wonderful, positive, strong relationship with Hashem.
Amen. Those who are blessed, are blessed. Yes, thank you, Rabbi.
Matzah Mateush is signed, sealed, delivered for the most amazing year they've ever had.
Amen. Good Yontif, good Yontif.
Yontif. Take care.
Amen. Thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi. Bye all.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbos. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good Shabbos. Bye-bye.